A general guide to cancel culture. Cancel culture started out as a collective online means of holding to account public figures who had abused their power. In the years since, few vestiges of that remain, and it has basically devolved into a strident and priggish means for large swaths of people on the internet who like or even need to be offended to undermine and chastise pop culture celebrities. As a typical example, Emmy nominee Billy Porter and Tiffany Haddish can visit a strip club together and talk about it in a breezy way on a talk show. But Dua Lipa can be cancelled after attending a Grammy after-party held by singer Lizzo at a strip club, where Dua Lipa was filmed making it rain on the dancers, which led to many accusing her of being anti-feminist, even though there are different waves of feminism and post-feminism in which such roles are tolerated or even affirmed. Cancellation usually involves the consensus of academia, the intelligentsia, and the liberal arts. However, J.K. Rowling has been cancelled for what were viewed as dubious and creakily out-of-touch comments, despite a letter in support of her being published in the Sunday Times signed by 58 entertainers, authors, and luminaries, including Booker Prize-winning author Ian McEwan, Olivier Award-nominated actress Frances Barber, and legendary playwright Tom Stoppard. The letter condemning the onslaught of abuse directed at Rowling on social media, describing such behavior as an insidious, authoritarian, and misogynistic trend. But overall, through weight of numbers, cancellation reached critical mass and Rowling is officially cancelled, even though the use of official as a term is weird, as if there were a body of arbitration or celebrity equivalent of The Hague where someone had slammed down a gavel. Mel Gibson drunkenly griped that the Jews are the cause of so many problems, called his arresting officer sugar tits, and screamed hysterically down the phone to his wife about black people and Mexicans, and made his expectations about fellatio explicitly clear.
And if you get raped by a pack of niggers, it'll be your fault. You need a fucking bat in the side of the head.
People that take fucking money from the wetbacks.
You should just fucking smile and blow me!
This isn't apparently enough for him to be cancelled, because he could fund his own projects anyway, and his insane rants fall outside some kind of arbitrary cancelling statute of limitations, as a few years later he was a welcome contributor to the Hollywood Reporters Round Table. But the notion of a cancelling statute of limitations doesn't apply to prospective Teen Vogue editor Alexi McCammond, who lost her position when offensive tweets she posted when still a teenager resurfaced. Tweets sent when she was a rough-around-the-edges youngster, prone to volatile, histrionic and cringeworthy teen impulses, like countless other teens. Comedian Jimmy Carr made a joke about Roma people who were murdered by the Nazis and was subsequently cancelled, indicating that, unlike an actual court, where a decision can be mitigated by the accused's prior conduct and character, the court of public opinion doesn't allow for seeing a botched or line-crossing joke in the context of a person's entire career of being on the right side of most issues. In the world of cancellation, there is no such concept as accumulated social capital or goodwill. That notion is subsumed and eaten up by the moment, the clip, the click, and therefore Jimmy Carr is cancelled. Corey Feldman, in a documentary about Corey Haim, alleged Haim had said actor Charlie Sheen raped him as a youngster. Feldman said Haim went into great detail, and several other people featured in the documentary also claimed Haim directly told them he had been abused by Sheen as a child. The documentary and allegations weren't enough to cancel Charlie Sheen, or especially perturb Entourage creator Doug Ellen, with whom Sheen has teamed up for a new dramedy series set in Hollywood. Bryan Singer has been accused of assaulting numerous young men over the course of 20 years, with multiple reports of the director allegedly offering roles to boys during parties where sexual abuse of minors allegedly took place. Those allegations weren't enough to cancel him or stop him from helming films, including the biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, which was acceptable enough to be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. Dustin Hoffman, recently accused of exposing himself to a minor and assaulting 2 women in the past, hasn't been cancelled, and has in fact been recently cast in a feature role in the film As They Made Us, directed by Mayim Bialik and starring Simon Helberg and Candice Bergen. Rapper DaBaby has been cancelled after he made grossly ignorant comments about HIV, along with further crude comments about gay people. However, rapper 50 Cent, busted in the act of selling drugs, a second arrest after the discovery of 2 loaded guns, allegedly attempting to attack a member of a crowd who'd hit him with a bottle, ending up with him injuring 3 women, as well as the late DMX jailed an estimated 30 times over the years, and Tekashi 6ix9ine getting a 4-year probation for the use of a child under 17 in a sexual performance, being arrested for allegedly choking a teenager, as well as admitting to domestic violence, are not incidents that can lead to cancellation. The rationale being, to do so would be seen as a white privileged judgment on people of color who had grown up in an environment made underprivileged, dangerous, and desperate by systemic racism. So the rapper's violence and misogyny have a root cause in systemic racism. Therefore, ordering their cancellation would be insensitive. This, overlooking the notion that homophobia, by the aforementioned DaBaby, could be argued to have become entrenched in the same environment growing up. But this contextual association is different in the court of cancellation. So, finally, not only is the cancellation statute of limitations ambiguous and subject to the whims of the internet at any given time, and not only is a public figure's social capital built up over decades null and void at the outbreak of a potentially cancel-worthy viral moment, there is also a notion that cancellation is not final. For example, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake, Chris Pratt, Ariana Grande, and the aforementioned Dua Lipa have all described themselves or been described as being cancelled at some stage, but their careers are still going strong. Which implies cancellation, in many instances, isn't final, more of a suspension, which means, perhaps most of the time, in the world of entertainment, cancellation is just saying you've committed an infraction, or been given a collective cultural yellow card, or you're on cultural probation, which is hardly different from how culture and society functioned before the rise of the term cancellation anyway. Which means, for the most part, cancellation exists in name only, which means that, through overuse of cancellation, cancellation is, in a wider sense, perhaps beginning to self-cancel, which might, by implication, lead to an organic, gradual cancelling of cancelling.